OpenAI just released GPT-5 with claims that it's their best coding model to date. So naturally, I put it to the test against several existing AI coding tools, and the results were not what I expected. So I feel like most of the content that I see about GPT-5 coding is just someone making a low-resolution game in a single prompt. Create a platforming game where I am a dinosaur trying to eat things. Nice. Now don't get me wrong, that's still impressive, but for people who want to use AI to build software with more value or depth, these demos don't really tell us much. So one of the things I tried creating was a basic MVP for an inventory management software. In ChatGPT, the prompt I used was create a front-end MVP for an inventory management system. I need to be able to add products, track quantities, search inventory, and see low stock alerts, make it look professional and actually functional. Okay, so once that finished loading, I have it open here. You can see that it really didn't do a bad job. I mean, it's just like a very basic UI, but it has everything that we need. It's got, the ability to import or export different JSON files for your inventory. You can see the display here. I kind of like that it made it in dark mode, but you could see if we, added a product and gave it a quantity, and let's just say, right, we gave it a category that we can add it. Oh, is it even going to work? Hello? What if I gave it a SKU? Okay, and you can see here that, everything for the most part is pretty functional. The thing is that when I took the exact same prompt and gave it to a platform like Bolt, which is specifically built for this kind of stuff, it was able to create something, in my opinion, that was cleaner and more functional in a fraction of the time. So here we are inside Bolt's version of the MVP, and right away, I think that it looks a lot more polished. You can see there's like a minimalist design with, different icons. It's showing things like inventory value, giving you alerts. The other thing that's kind of nice is they actually gave us different tabs to see the inventory. It's got filtering options, and all of these buttons seem to work and update just fine. This is not to discredit GPT-5 fully. You could technically get away with using either to build your front end. The added benefit of using Bolt, however, is that with ChatGPT, it's just going to give you the code, whereas on Bolt, you're actually able to deploy and make it live and shareable right away. The other benefit is that it's already integrated with GitHub, so you're able to make saves and return to previous versions. Now, where I think GPT-5 can actually outperform Bolt is when trying to build front ends that are a little bit more complex. Okay, so what I have here is in ChatGPT, I made a Canvas app that uses my webcam to track my hand movements for drawing. So you can see here, it'll follow my hand, and if I create a pointer finger, I'm actually able to draw with it. I can change the color and I can clear if I just open palm it. So something like this would actually be better to use ChatGPT over Bolt. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is backend coding capabilities, which are inherently a little bit harder to show off because they're not as visual as front-end code. But this is actually where I think GPT-5 shines the most, because I found it to be very good at handling complex problems. When I run into coding errors from other platforms that I don't understand, which are like most of them, ChatGPT is really, really good at understanding the problem and walking me through a step-by-step guide on how I can fix it. But again, where GPT-5 falls short with backends, at least directly on ChatGPT's website, is that there's a difference between writing and understanding code and actually building these backend systems. Building backends requires things like API testing, deployment, environment configuration. ChatGPT could write the code for these things or tell you how to set up your project, but you'd actually need to go in and set it up and run it yourself. It's like being a good architect, but not an actual builder, which is why I like using Cursor for backends, because it's an IDE or integrated development environment. So it not only writes the code, but it's able to actually create these files for you and test and run the code locally. Thankfully, you don't need to choose between the two because Cursor announced that they're already integrating GPT-5 into their newest version, so you can get the best of both worlds. Also, for anyone watching the video, you might have noticed that it's getting darker and darker because I chose to record at sunset, so I'm like racing against the clock before I'm like engulfed in darkness. So someone could make the argument that if these existing AI coding platforms like Cursor are already adopting GPT-5, then what's the point of using ChatGPT for coding? Other than the use case I showed before of making complicated front ends, the place that I found ChatGPT to be the most helpful when coding is, like I said, it's really good at solving problems and debugging. What I like to do is whenever I'm coding with AI, I always have a window of ChatGPT open so that if I ever encounter a problem, I'll tell it and it'll be able to walk me through the process. There have been times where I'll just take the output from Cursor and send it to ChatGPT, and they'll go back and forth and have a conversation to try to figure out the problem. Maybe one day they'll be able to figure out that they don't actually need me, but until then, I'm gonna keep making these videos. So that's my honest take on GPT-5's coding abilities. If you guys are building anything cool with it, let me know in the comments below. And for anyone that wants to see more, real testing of these AI tools, consider subscribing.